Last week, Jennifer Flynn Walker, who sits on the board of directors of Vocal New York, had a meltdown on Twitter after activists had challenged her group's failure to mobilize protests against the NYPD's raids on homeless shelters and to press for the legalization of marijuana. Some advocates for police reform believe that if groups like Vocal New York would remobilize, we stand a greater chance of bringing about reforms. Why did Jennifer Flynn Walker have a meltdown? Because activists are demanding reforms greater than nonprofit groups like hers are willing to support. Why is that? Because Jennifer Flynn Walker has a history of receiving funding from George Soros, who happens to support Mayor Bill de Blasio. Because she wants to safeguard her access and her money, Jennifer Flynn Walker is willing to de-escalate political pressure for reforms, even if that means doing her part to lock activists up in the veal pen. You see, any structure, even a nonprofit, can do its part to stamp out grassroots calls for reform and accountability. After a barrage of tweets where I tried to shame Vocal New York and the coalition to which it belongs, Jennifer Flynn Walker accused me of being a police officer or an informant, probably the worst accusation that could be made against an activist. In pressing for reforms, I've taken very unpopular stances, making many enemies, but I stand by everything I've done because everything I've done has come from a place of wanting reform. Jennifer Flynn Walker and her donors are nervous because the mayor and his supporters don't want to be held accountable to the mayor's campaign promises for police reform, something that would only make them upset if they were not sincere about their promises. As I showed you before, and you will better understand this if you are a nerd for the MAP model of social movement planning, is that the police reform movement is close to jumping from stage 4 to stage 6. Such a jump would move us closer to achieving reforms, a prospect which unnerves the mayor and his supporters, so much so that they would be willing to trash grassroots activists, as the feminist author Joe Freeman once described in another movement. There is no amount of shade which Jennifer Flynn Walker can throw our way which will stop activists from pressing for reforms, or that will stop me. In 2011, I survived the censorship of my anti-Bloomberg and anti-Quinn blogs by Google. In 2012, my controversial puppet video was suspended by YouTube for a few months before it was restored. Indeed, this recent blowback is a characteristic of moving into stage 6 in the MAP model because power holders escalate their resistance to reforms. And because we are inside of an era where many movements are demanding reforms, people are losing patience with failed leadership. After years of having no more grassroots support, Joe Solmonese had to step down from HRC. After Lisa Winters was caught embezzling from the Bronx Pride House, she was charged with crimes and went to jail. After a series of severe financial reversals, Marjorie Hill separated from GMHC. And after 15 years of disappointments, Christine Quinn was voted out of office. Because we are making progress in holding corrupt leaders accountable, this undoubtedly will worry others who stand in the way of reforms. The feedback and other indication I have received in the last week tell me that we are on the right path. More and more people are following exactly what is going on. And as unfair and as uncomfortable as some of this may be, we finally have some clarity from Vocal New York and the coalition to which it belongs. We know where they stand. If Jennifer Flynn Walker truly is blocking the remobilization of protest groups, then you must decide, is this acceptable leadership from a community nonprofit?